Good day, grade 9 learners! Welcome to our English class. Before we start our lesson for today, please take note of the following reminders. First, prepare your paper, pen, and self-learning module. You can even go back and revisit some portions of this video lesson. This video presentation is for the third quarter, Module 1 of our subject English for grade 9. Our topic is relating text content to particular issues, concerns, or dispositions in life. Here is our most essential learning competency. Determine the relevance and truthfulness of the ideas presented in the material viewed. What you need to know. We have 3 learning objectives for this lesson. The first one is determine the relevance and the truthfulness of the ideas presented. Second, relate text to particular issues, concerns, or dispositions in life. And finally, analyze literature as a means of understanding and changing values in a changing world. What's in? Are you good at guessing? Then, this is a good activity for you. Guess the right word. In this game, you will unlock some unfamiliar words in the poem by supplying the missing letters. You will be given 5 seconds for each item. Let's begin. The first word is, it means to form pus or suppurate of a wound. Good job! The word is fester. Here is our word number 2. It means to become weaker or less firm. Correct! The word for this one is sag. Doing great! How about we take a look at our next word? Word number 3. It means painful or aching. Did you get it? The answer is sore. We now go to our fourth word. Look at the word. It means to put off an action or event to a later time. Yes, you got it right. The answer is deferred. And here is our last word for this activity. It means thick and sweet. Yum, yum, yum! The right word for this one is syrupy. And there you go. That's the end of our Guess the Right Word activity. Did you get a perfect score? If not, then don't worry because we still have more activities in this lesson. Today, we are going to read a poem written by James Mercer Hughes, popularly known as Langston Hughes. And together, let's find out why the poem is entitled Dream Deferred. Let us meet the person who wrote the poem. James Mercer Langston Hughes, also known as Langston Hughes, was born in Joplin, Missouri. He was an American poet, essayist, playwright, and short story writer. He is still considered as one of the most renowned contributors to American literature in the 20th century. He sought to honestly portray the joys and hardships of working-class Black lives, avoiding both sentimental idealization and negative stereotypes. Also, Hughes was known for vocalizing the concerns of working-class African Americans. Lastly, he usually writes based on his own experience. Langston Hughes died because of complication from prostate cancer in May 22, 1967 at New York, New York. Before we read the poem and begin our discussion, here are some questions for you to answer. First, what are your dreams in life? For some people, it's easy for them to say that they want to become teachers, doctors, nurses, police officers, or pilots. How about you? Here is my second question. What do you think are the factors that will keep you away from achieving your dreams in life? Here are some factors. We have family problems, distractions, lack of consistency, and financial problems. Now, we are about to read the poem. Just remember that you can click the pause button if you wish to read and understand the poem well. Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? Here are some important concepts about the poem. First, the poem Harlem, Dream Deferred, is written by African-American poet Langston Hughes at the time of the Harlem Renaissance. The poet talks about the dream which is always postponed or delayed. Second, the dream that is being referred to in the poem is that of equality and freedom for the African Americans who have been discriminated against on the basis of their color in America for ages. Lastly, the poem consists of 11 lines and is an open verse. Though the poem has no specific stanzas, it is divided into two parts. The first part talks about a dream deferred, while the second part talks about hope and hopelessness. In the first part, what does the poet want to imply in these lines? You're right, my dear students. Here, the poet raises some rhetorical questions regarding a dream that has already been delayed and is yet to come true. Let us now go to the second part of the poem. What does the poet want to show in these lines? You're right once again. Here, the poet shows hopelessness. Let's analyze each line of the poem and infer meanings. The poem begins with a direct question. What happens to a dream deferred? This question is the poet's direct question to probably the white people, to his own race, or to the audience in general. The poet uses similes to compare his dream deferred with a number of things that rot up because of delay, like a raisin in the sun, fester like a sore, stink like rotten meat, and crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet. Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? In this part, the poet gives the readers vivid imagery of what he feels is happening to him, as he has not yet seen his dream fulfilled. Or fester like a sore and then run. Here, the poet compares his disappointment to a sore, which festers and oozes, thoroughly giving his readers an understanding of the depths of his disgust. Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? The poet's next questions about how it smells suggest two possible endings for this dream deferred. First is that, like a piece of meat left to rot, it would just continue to get worse and worse the longer their hope for equality was denied. The second option is that it would simply crust over. People would become used to living in separate societies and become comfortable living their own lives. Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. These lines suggest that he feels the heavy weight of the many years he and his ancestors would wait for others to see them as equal. Hughes felt the heavy burden of this weight upon his shoulders. It had already been 90 years since the African American people were freed and given rights as human beings. Or does it explode? In the last line, the poet fears that the dream which has been delayed for ages may explode or shatter away. He implies with this line that something is about to happen. It is clear that the author believes that the African American people cannot tolerate the way they have been treated in society for much longer. What to do? After exploring the ideas and concepts of the poem, let us have a short practice exercise. Find out the meaning of each verse by answering the questions below. Write your answers on a piece of paper. Question number 1. What did you observe on verses 1 to 3? Second question. How about verses 4 to 5? Why did Langston Hughes use the words faster and soar in the poem? Question number 3. In verses 6 to 8, why do you think Langston Hughes used the phrases stink like a rotten meat and crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Fourth question. What does the poet want to convey in verses 1 to 2? And here is our last question. What does the speaker mean in the last line of the poem? Learners, please refer to your self-learning module for the rest of the activity. Job well done! Congratulations for accomplishing Module 1.